And you too, barrister, you pointed out that sometimes it is difficult to distinguish, okay, sir, it's difficult to distinguish original copy and pirated copy. Because some of the pirated copies are even more sophisticated than the original copy. Okay? So let's talk about how to combat piracy. It's not just about making laws. What about enforcement? So, barrister, please, let's think about that, how to enforce and curtail piracy. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say specifically that we should address this topic. Copyright and sustainable growth in the Nigeria book ecosystem. That's what I want to hear. So we don't have to travel too far to say this. Let's say specific things.
We can't succeed.
Sophia.
You will see the picture of a latest
bookseller. What is the source of your product? What is the source of the stock you have in your shop? If you are an importer, do you have a proper distribution partnership with the publishers, so to speak? So those things it's pleasing to hear that that is in place. For us as booksellers, we're trying to give visibility to our association. That's why we are calling on our members. Those of us who are here, who are not members, who are not registered with the Booksellers Association of Nigeria, you are enjoined to come forward so that we can do things properly. During the COVID-19 pandemic and all of that, the government sort of reached out to members of the creative industry by offering palliatives. It was disappointing that the focus was on those in the music and filmmaking industry. Apparently, they didn't know about the booksellers or those of us in the literary works sector. So we need to collaborate more, as had been said by all other speakers, amongst the publishers, the authors, the booksellers. We are like the players at the end of the spectrum who are closer to the end user, the consumers. Unfortunately, we recognize that even amongst our members, there are some who have aligned with the pirates, so to speak. So you unfortunately will find some legitimate distributors of books who are stocking pirated materials. And it's unfortunate that we have that situation. But it's all part of the cleanup exercise that the DG had spoken about, because we're all guilty. And as much as we continue to speak about piracy and the harm it is causing the sector, some of us have compromised. And the pirates have presented a formidable force. But I'm happy that we have someone who is quite competent at the helm of affairs. We see a lot of it happening even for some of us who are into importation. From time to time, documentations are required. You cannot have your containers cleared without representatives of NCC as part of the regulatory bodies at the port. So these are some of the things happening that we are happy about, and we're seeing, and we're asking that a lot more be done. We hope that government will continue to support the commission more to strengthen enforcement, and beyond that also, the sanctions. That was one area I had concerns about. It is one thing to enforce. It is one thing to carry out those raids. But what do we do beyond that point? Do we prosecute? Do we penalize these offenders and those who have been found culpable of infringing copyrights? And then again, on the part of government, as I said, some of our members, booksellers who deal in curriculum books, school curriculum materials, some others import their final products. I think government too can help with these multiple levies and taxes that they have to deal with. You see, because at the point of even obtaining the import permit to register your FORMEM before you can bring in your container, you can be asked to pay as much as between 1 million to 1.5 million naira. How do you survive? By the time you do all of that and then you pay your clearing charges, you still have to settle the supplier, duty and all of that. The books come at very, very high costs. And that's what the pirates strive on. They are so sophisticated, they've even identified fast-selling materials, and they go outside. They go especially to Asia and then reproduce these materials and bring them in, flood the market. And you find a situation where you are stuck with products for months, weeks, months, if not years, that you cannot even return anyway to the suppliers. So for us as booksellers, we're doing the cleanup exercise in-house, and then we're also collaborating with other stakeholders in the ecosystem, the publishers and the printers and the like, to at least join hands, and we hope that we'll all achieve success and our desired goals in the end. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Permit me to stand on existing protocol. Sophia Adeyeye from Lee City University. I'm into teaching and research, and at the same time a librarian by training. So I work in a library school. And within the book ecosystem, it is the librarian or the library that is making books accessible to users without having profit in mind. And I'm very sure that is the major reason why the government is not paying close attention to libraries, because library is not a profit-making place. Rather, where you have to spend money, increase your budget in making sure books are available to the students. I want to believe that even within the library school, we do teach publishing and book trade, so that as librarians, because we'll be handling books, there is need for us to understand the reason, the commercial reasons why people are into publishing, the history of publishing, and at the same time protect the people that are involved in the book trade, so that the users will not unnecessarily make use of a book in an unfair way. I remember when I was in the library school at University of Ibadan, towards my fourth year, when I was preparing to write my project, I went to the library then, Kennedy Library, and I was hoping to photocopy the full project of another person so that it could help me to write mine. And the librarian I met there had to sat me down and explain the reason why I will not be able to photocopy the full project. That means I will be infringing on intellectual property of another person. And that I should tell her the exact place where I need help, so that she will allow me to photocopy those pages. And at the end of the day, I went back very disappointed, because I was hoping to use the full project, and I could only photocopy 10 pages. So I went back to my classmates and no complaint, and they taught me that I should keep going every day, so that by the time, going every day, 10 pages, and I later met with a senior librarian, Mrs. Oyelude, and I told her my predicament, and she said, "Oh, Shebi, you are in the library school." I said, "Yes." "Were you not taught publishing and book trade?" I said, "Yes." She now said, "Okay, assuming this particular thing is a book, and you are, instead of you to go and buy, so that the person will be encouraged to write more, publish more, you are photocopying the entire book. How will you feel?" I felt bad, and I went back to my classmates and told them that Professor Okilagwe was not, because she told me that she's going to report to Professor Okilagwe. So I went back to them and said, "Please don't go back to the library, that she has her eyes on us," because she said she's going to report. And since then, I learned a big lesson, that when we abide to those rules, it helps creativity. It helps innovative capabilities. It helps in developing some sustainable development growth. Also, as a person in the library school, like what Professor Anunobi said about cultural heritage, protecting our indigenous knowledge. In the library school, we teach indigenous knowledge. We teach oral archives and indigenous knowledge. And I want to believe that most of the children, as in our children, my own children, for people that are still in the childbearing age, what we learned from our parents, from the word of mouth, we've not been able to give it back to our children because those things are not properly documented. In the course of repeating those things from word of mouth, some are lost, some are either removed, added, and so many things like that. Why we are able to recite London Bridge is falling down is because it is documented, properly documented. And that is why from generation to generation, we will still sing London Bridge is falling down. So, also, I want to just encourage the publishers to publish more in our local languages and publish books that speaks to morals. I'm a bibliotherapist by the special grace of God, learning under Professor Kilagwe, and there is need for us to have more books that we can use to treat things like bullying, self-regulation, self-esteem, storybooks that could speak to what is happening within the younger generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, sir. Thank you, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to acknowledge the distinguished presence of all the eminent people around, especially Professor Femi Oshofison. While doing my doctorate, I studied his works extensively. And after studying his works, I realized that Nigerians, Africans, do not know anything about this distinguished Nigerian. Please, let's put our hands together for Professor Femi Oshofison. Prof, you're welcome, sir. He's one man I would like to see win the Nobel Prize for Literature in his lifetime because he's eminently qualified to do so. You're welcome, Prof. Now, having said that, let me come to the subject of the day. I enjoyed the lecture by Barrister John Asen, especially when he talked about piracy. Piracy is, as far as I'm concerned, a crime against humanity. It's stealing, it's criminal, it is immoral too. Imagine that you do a job for 10 years. Some people write one novel. It takes some people as long as 10 years to write a novel. And at the end of the day, you don't have anything to show for it. Okay? And then the painful thing is that these people who indulge in piracy are billionaires. Okay? I know some of them, billionaires, they have a lot of money. Okay? And that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. But before I say that, let me tell you, let me use 1 minute to tell you a story. I lecture at Mountaintop University. And one day I was asking my students, 300 level students, what do you want to be when you graduate? All of them differently, they said all kinds of things. One of them said, I would like to be a writer. I said, oh, good, that's beautiful. He said he hopes to write 5 novels within 10 years, write plays and all of that. The next semester, I asked them again. He said he wanted to be a politician. I said, what happened to your writing dream? He said, writers are not rich. I said, give me an example. He said, Wole Soyinka is a poor man. I said, really? He said, yes. You know what he did? He opened his drawer and brought out a copy of Wole Soyinka's play, okay, Gongi Harvest, pirated. He says, sir, I bought this book. Will the money get to Wole Soyinka? I said, no. So they can be rich. A small boy, that boy maybe 19 years, okay? So you see that children are aware that writers are not rich people. So what it does, what that kind of mentality will do is to kill the aspiration of young people who want to write. It's not only, you can't be a writer only if you study English or if you study literature. You can be a writer even if you're a medical doctor, if you're an engineer. There are some of them here. If you ask them now, they will tell you, look, I want to be a writer. But the question is, do writers have money? Because everybody wants to have money. Okay? Now, let me come to Barrister John Ascent's lecture. Barrister, sir, I am happy that there is some kind of legislation against piracy. Okay? But the issue is not just about legislation. The issue is enforcement. Because pirates are rich. And, Barrister, you are going to use the structure of government of Nigeria to fight billionaires. You know what I'm talking about. Who are these people that will stop pirates? They have money. That's where corruption comes in. Okay? You've given a beautiful outline of how you're going to fight corruption, how you're going to do this and that. Possibly you will use police, won't you? You will use force. You're going to enforce the laws. But these guys are billionaires. So you're going to come up with a more concrete, germane way of fighting piracy. Like my brother who spoke here, he said some of these books are printed abroad. And you too, Barrister, you pointed out that sometimes it is difficult to distinguish, okay, sir, it's difficult to distinguish original copy and pirated copy. Because some of the pirated copies are even more sophisticated than the original copy. Okay? So let's talk about how to combat piracy. It's not just about making laws. What about enforcement? So, Barrister, please, let's think about that, how to enforce and curtail piracy. Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say specifically that we should address this topic. Copyright and sustainable growth in the Nigeria book ecosystem. That's what I want to hear. So we don't have to travel too far to say this. Let's say specific things about the main topic.
Thank you very much, Prof. My name is Sam Udimayo, and I represent the printers unit of the book ecosystem. Now, the book ecosystem, like the DG Copyright Commission defined it, comprises of interconnected businesses in the book industry. And these businesses include the originators, which are the authors, the publishers, the printers, the booksellers, and finally the readers. An ecosystem is an ecological area, ecological environment, where the units in that environment collaborate without infringing on the right of each unit to survive. Therefore, for the ecosystem the book ecosystem to really have sustainable growth, each individual unit, the authors, the publishers, the printers, the sellers, and the readers must ensure that we take cognizance of the need for the survivor of each unit. When this is done, when there is a deliberate collaboration to ensure that we respect the right of each other in the book ecosystem, then there will be stupendous growth. For example, the bookseller recognizes that I don't have a right to deprive the authors and the publishers of their benefit from the industry. They will ensure that they sell their books and get the books directly from the publishers, not from pirates. Also, the publishers and the self-publishing authors, if they recognize that the business of the bookseller is very important, they will not put on their books that these books are not supposed to be sold in bookshops. There are books like that the publishers will put at the cover page, not to be sold in bookshops. Which means that from my own book, the bookseller's business is to recognize the need for the survival of the printers. Because I'm a printer, I will talk more on this unit. Huge investments is put into the printing industry. And where, according to the definition of an ecosystem, if we say Nigerian book ecosystem, it means that we are talking of the Nigerian space, which means that books developed in Nigeria, meant for Nigerian audience, published by Nigerian authors, to be sold by Nigerian booksellers, must be printed within the shores of Nigeria. That way, the ecosystem of the book ecosystem will now begin to grow. I tell you the kind of growth that we will get. For example, if we make a policy statement today, or a policy agenda, that all primary and secondary school books published for Nigerian books should be printed here in Nigeria, there will be tremendous growth. If we say within a period of 5 years, let us print, publish, and sell our books within Nigeria, there will be huge industrial growth, especially in the printing industry. I give an example of a printing concern in Ibadan. This concern, because of patronage, has been able to install 2 fully automated web presses, Rasmet press, within 2 years, and giving employment to thousands of Nigerians in the book chain. But if we take all this abroad, then our job and our funds, our scarce resources is taken away. We should take the advantage of the Florence Treaty or the Florence Agreement, which says that intellectual materials should flow within borders without government charging import duty. The Nigerian book ecosystem should take advantage of this, not to mean taking our books outside to print and then bring it back for us to sell here. It should mean taking Nigeria intellectual properties, printed and published in Nigeria, abroad. This country, like one of the speakers before me said, has huge potential to supply books to the whole of Africa. But what we are doing now is that we are publishing our books here, going abroad to print it, and bringing it back to sell in Nigeria. we should convert this and take advantage of that treaty or that agreement, that Florence Treaty, to mean that we develop our books in Nigeria, print it in Nigeria, preserve the right in Nigeria, and then export to other countries. I believe that if we collaborate properly, we can point government to the fact that our industry has capacity to generate forex. Our industry has a huge capacity to generate foreign exchange for Nigeria, and we should graduate to become a foreign exchange earner for this nation. Thank you very much.
And tap into the weaknesses and strength of what others have talked about. Once again, my name is Lukman Dauda, the VP of MPA, Nigeria Publishers Association, and the Managing Director of Evans Brothers Nigeria Publishers Limited. Going straight to the presentation of our dear barrister Sain, a very good friend of the book ecosystem. Having been part and parcel of the system, I think we should be very, very grateful to God for having somebody like him, just like the moderator said earlier, to have been in that kind of vantage position to oversee, this pandemic called piracy or copyright infringement. I will continue to pray that God will continue to give you the strength and the grace. You are doing wonderfully well, and you understand the system a lot, and that is equally helping you. You have said it all in your paper, what the problems are, what the positive sides of all these things are, and then how to go about resolving some of these challenges. I've listened to the bookseller, listened to the author, listened to the printer, and the librarian. And I come to realize that, in a way, we are just conflicting. We have conflicting interests, so to say, rather than a united front. As a publisher that deal with all of these people, we know what the problems are. But the key issue there is that lack of unity of purpose. Unity of purpose. We are the one, like the DG said, killing our own system. But we are very good at pointing accusing fingers to everybody except ourselves. We are not united. How do you fight, a problem confronting about 5 ingredients or 5 aspects individually? We can't succeed. In a way, we present a very viable environment for pirates to excel. And I want to suggest that when we look at some of these points I want to mention, we will be able to we cannot eliminate piracy. I don't see us achieving that. We can only reduce it to a barest minimum. Because like somebody said, these are people with very, very big pockets. Very, very big, huge pockets. But there's a way we can reduce the impact of piracy on our business. One thing that I know is pirates will not pirate any books that is not popular. They won't go into any unpopular book to pirate. Then they will be looking at your strength in terms of, let me say capacity in terms of availability. So the first suggestion I want to make is to ensure that immediately you realize that your books are becoming popular, make sure that you have them available at all times. Availability drives away pirates. Then, I've come to observe that one way or the other, some of us in this business are satisfied with little sources. I don't know why. Maybe we never thought we could make millions, and we, for whatever reason, succeeded in getting some millions, and we feel satisfied. When you can multiply that, which means the potential for you is actually more than what you have anticipated. But you did not take advantage of that potential. You are only satisfied with the little you have been able to achieve. So let us be very, very ambitious in our various fields. So that if you are thinking you can make $1 billion and you succeed in making that, then you go further. You go further. Then again, I hope I'm not going to be penalized for the, no, not that. I'm still within my time, but for the exercises of others that may have contributed. So within my time, I will definitely make up my points. Then, I want to suggest that we stop all these unnecessary rivalries amongst ourselves. We are not supposed to be competing. We are supposed to be collaborating. Because that's the only way we can fight the problem that is facing us. We compete a lot, and it's not helping our business. We cannot voluntarily volunteer information to help the industry individually. That will never help us. Let's volunteer information. Let's compare notes. And those are the things that will help us. Then, the funding. Fighting piracy requires funding. We are not serious yet enough to face this challenge frontally. The only way we can make some headway is to be prepared to release some funds, reasonable amount of money to fight this cause. It has not been easy fighting that when it comes to funding. The DG knows what I'm talking about, and a good number of my colleagues here in the publishing industry know what I'm talking about. Coming to the last point, talking about what the printer said, or the representative of the printer said, we all know what the problem is. Can you say Nigerian books printed, published in Nigeria, printed in Nigeria, and sold in Nigeria? When is that going to be possible with all the gargantuan challenges facing the industry? Where is the capacity? We know the capacity is not there. The infrastructure deficiency that we experience in the country is there. We are the paper industries. Yeah. Everything that we use in printing comes from abroad, including paper. So where is the capacity? Let us see how we can address this through the government and government agencies. And make these things very, very easy for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, my people say if you have to gather firewood in the bush to roast the long snake, you may be tempted to fetch all the firewood in the bush, which is not possible. Thank you very much, my MD. We've listened to them, actually. But I will conclude after I've heard from the audience. But these are very serious issues that have been raised. And there are solutions. Let's listen to the audience first. We're going to throw this open for 3 questions or contributions. 2 here, 2 here, 1 from, okay, from people in front here. Oh, here. MC, okay, gentleman there. Come out, please. Come out, please. Yes, please. Come over here, please. Okay.